Hey, good morning. Good morning, CSL Palm Desert. Good morning, Eddie Watkins Jr. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Hey, Eddie, where are you, by the way? Where are you? You're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I am in Ocala, Florida.
Ocala, Florida. All right. See, live from Ocala, Florida, it's Eddie Watkins Jr. Woo! So, good morning, Eddie. So, one of Eddie's favorite songs, and I asked him to start out with this one because this one just rocks my world. It always has. It just touches my heart. And I know you sang it for me when we were at the center last time together. So let's just kick off with that one and we'll head the show up after that. All right. So, Eddie, take it away.
You got it. You got it. Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. Now I want you to clap your hands and sing it with me and saying, I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Now if you got a mirror next to you, look at the mirror and say, you are the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. You are the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
All right, Eddie. Thank you. I'm sitting here. All right. That was so good. Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
So let's see. We already have a comment. Amy Morrison, one of our beloved congregant said, "Let Eddie know I coordinated a ladies' dance party for his recent online dance party."
Oh, wow.
So you're spreading the word, man, all over coast to coast.
All right. I love it. I love it.
So you're from Detroit, Eddie?
I am born and raised in Detroit.
Where in Detroit?
Well, it's an area called Black Bottom.
Don't know where that is because I'm born and raised in Flint.
Well, it wasn't Grosse Point, I tell you that.
Yeah, neither was Flint. I always say it's a really nice place to be from.
Yeah, at that time though, it was wonderful. The music was incredible, and as a youngster, I was able to connect with that Motown scene before they pulled up and left Detroit.
Yeah, sure, sure. That was that. Like I would say, it's a great place to be from. Do you still have family there?
I do. Most of my family's there. My mother, sister, brother.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my mom, my immediate family left, but I have my aunts and uncles and cousins. They all still live there.
Yeah, my mom was down here with me for a while, the first of the year, and we got her back home just before this whole thing broke out.
Yeah,
So I was really happy about that. We were really fortunate. But she's doing really well back in Detroit.
good.
She, she's staying put.
That's. I tell you what, it feels like we're on week 385, but I know it's not. We're hanging in there. Everybody seems to be hanging in there. One thing we're really fortunate, Jeff and Swing Point Media, every day at 10 o'clock, our center has something that we're broadcasting. So we've been able, 7 days a week, people can tune in at 10 o'clock in the morning and find something, whether it's a conversation or a concert or a class. We've just been doing a lot of that good work. So were you in Detroit, did you go to the church or anything? Was your family involved in a church?
Yeah, you know what? I went to church so much I thought it was child abuse.
What kind of church was it?
Well, my mother and father, they were hardcore Southern Baptists. But my grandmother, she was Pentecostal.
Ooh.
And they sent me to a Catholic school.
Just to balance it all out, give you a lot of confusion.
And see, Big Mama, like I said, my grandmother, we call her Big Mama, she was sanctified, right?
Huh?
So we had two days a week, we went to church in somebody's basement, you know. So, I mean, I had church, and, so that's how I came up in it. So by the time I hit, religious science, man, I was kind of done with it.
That's a lot of people are like that. So was there an influence on any of your music? Because I know I used to go to my grandmother's Assembly of God church, and Pentecostal church, and the style of music was just so intense and profound, and it gave me a love for different types of music, but in particular that kind of if I could get past the fear spin in some of the music and just listen to some of the heart of the music itself, it really had a great influence on me. I know. Did anything like that happen to you? What was your greatest influence? Is there like a song that would that still maybe doesn't fit in your new thought thinking, but it certainly has a special place in your heart every time you sing it?
It does. Well, there's a couple of them. I don't go too deeply into the third and fourth verses of these things, but the song "How Great Thou Art,"
One of my favorites.
it touches my heart every time. And "His Eye is on the Sparrow."
Yeah.
And songs like that. I mean, no matter what you believe, I mean, it's just so heartfelt. The writer, I'm feeling the heart of the writer, and the spiritual inspiration. I mean, regardless of your religion or whatever, that heart and that spirit is real, in those songs.
My grandmother, I was born and raised in Unity, so I was pretty fortunate that I didn't have a whole lot of baggage to get rid of.
Gotcha.
My grandmother was a soloist at our little church at Unity Church in Flint, which was actually, in hindsight, it was a very small garage that had been transformed into a sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And right there in Flint, Michigan. And she would sing "How Great Thou Art" as well. Will you sing that for me? Will you sing that for us?
Oh, let me see. I don't remember if I
Or
remember.
Eyes Are on the Sparrow? Any one of them that meant something to you? Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay, let me see. Why should I feel discouraged? And why should I feel all alone? I'm just paraphrasing because I don't remember all of that. Why should my heart be discouraged and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. Oh, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Ah, loved it, Eddie. Thank you. Do you remember when you first came onto the scene at like at a Silomar or one of our bigger conferences? Do you remember your first experience going to one of those things?
I do, I do, and I had just been introduced to to Ernest Holmes. Well, no, not really, not to Ernest Holmes, but to Church of Religious Science. Well, that's what it was called back then.
Yeah.
and and what I remember is that I had sat down with a practitioner the first time I walked in the door. Her name was Debbie Little in First Church of Religious Science in Las Vegas, and I didn't know what a mind treatment was. And she did a mind treatment with me, and man, it really took because I decided at that point that I wanted to immerse myself in this teaching, and I would dedicate the rest of my life to doing this music, you know. And that's what I've done, and it's been like 11, 12 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you
So
remember your first Asilomar? Do you remember what it felt like to go up in front of a? Because I mean, most at the time, most Science of Mind churches were pretty small. You know, they didn't have big venues. There, you know, they averaged between 50 to 100 people, and you know,
hmm
next thing you were in a room. I remember mine when you walked in, and there were 1,200 people in one
uh,
place,
hmm
and at Asilomar, that magical, just that whole feeling was just that the nature, the Pacific Ocean, the whole
hmm
thing, and the vibration of the place.
hmm
Do you remember what that was like the first time you got to do that? Do you remember what you sang or what your favorite moment was there?
Well, I had a career before I actually got into religious science, which actually took me around the world, and I've played for
Big,
thousands of people in stadiums.
yeah.
So the crowd was not really necessarily impressive, but I wasn't hired there to sing. I was hired to play bass.
Oh,
You
your
know,
first one was bass. Okay.
so Michael Gott, he was the director, and he called me and he said, Jeff McKenna gave him my CD, I believe, up in Reno, and Michael Gott needed a bass player because Jeff couldn't do it. Uh, so Michael called me and says, I like your stuff, but I don't have a spot for you really to sing. But if you play bass, you can come and you can kind of see what it's about, right?
Right.
So I got there, and all in one time. At one time, I met Karen Drucker, Daniel Neymar, Lisa Ferraro, all of them at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So, but here's the deal. I'm going to show you how God works. Just an example of how God works. One day, I decided that I didn't want to eat lunch, right? So I'm sitting in Merrill Hall, and the place is filling up, and the band had not made it back to the stage yet. So Michael says, "Well, you wanted a shot. Here you go."
Oh, that's great.
So it was just me and the piano right there in Merrill Hall, right?
Yeah.
So just thinking, what the heck am I going to do, man? And so I sat down and I played The Answer. And then when I got finished, I didn't hear anybody clap. I was just like, oh, so I guess my New Thought career is over. I guess nobody wants to hear gospel New Thought music. And then all of a sudden the place erupted.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? This is home, because they get it.
Yeah.
They actually get this music because it was written based on what I had experienced from the writings of Ernest Holmes and some others, and of course what I've picked out of the Bible that resonates in those parallels that we find in religious science as well. But I said, well, this is it, because now I could live here where people will actually get the music that I'm writing from my heart. Before that, I tried to write hit records, but it wasn't anything that I really believed in. You know what I mean?
Right.
But now I'm writing about something that I believe in.
Do you remember? You know the song "The Answer"? Obviously. Can you play it for us?
Sure, I'd love to play it.
I'd love that.
Okay. Here we all are, gathered together in this place. Why are we here? What is our purpose? Spirit reveal. How do we know what's true and what's real? We may not know where life's road will lead, but it doesn't matter, long as we believe that God is the answer. God is the answer. God is the answer to whatever the question may be. What's going on in this world today? Where do we fit? And what can we do to make a difference? What can we say? Where do we go? This way or that way? But if we all pray and truly believe, and don't you know we got to love one another, so we can let the world see that God is the answer. question may be, to whatever the question may be.
And yeah, I needed to hear that one. Yeah.
All right.
Woo. Yeah, it's kind of a weird time we're in, huh?
It is.
That song is appropriate for that.
Yes.
For this time, especially walking through all of this and whew, all right, let me get myself together again. It got to me a little bit, and I was imagining in my head, I'm thinking, wow, what it would have been like to been in that room when you were at Asilomar and singing that song. There, there's some. It's funny because have you ever been to a conference at the Asilomar Conference Grounds that wasn't related to religious science, the science of mind?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I have to tell you this quick story because it's really funny. So I used to work for a labor union. So I was working for a labor union and I was a minister of a church. And it just so happened that the week after Asilomar, the labor union had rented this facility for its weekly training.
Okay.
And so I got to stay on the grounds for, the science of mind experience, the religious science experience. And then everybody left. And there was this one night where no one was there. I think it was one of 4 people on the entire conference grounds. The next day, another week started for me with my other job. And I have to tell you that when I walked the grounds of Asilomar during our week of with the Centers for Spiritual Living, it would be so peaceful, and there was just this energy that I felt like the plants were talking to you, and everything was supporting us being there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be so great to have 2 full weeks there, and I'm going to have a whole night there by myself to just take it all in. So everyone from our retreat left, the Science of Mind retreat, and then there I was by myself, and then our people started coming in for our week's worth of training. And I have to tell you something, Eddie, it was the weirdest thing. That place became very stoic and very, I want to use the word brittle. It was hard. It was harsh. It lost its energy and its softness and its support. And it became buildings and like Merrill Hall, which was just filled with this vibration, became this room where just didn't have any energy except a PowerPoint on the screen. And it just, anyway, I just had to share that because we brought that energy in, and the music department, especially at Asilomar, every year was such an important component of that. It kept that place alive, and moments like you shared where there was just silence and you're thinking, uh-oh, I'm not coming back, and then the place erupted. Those were some of those most special moments that I ever had when I was there for 20 some years.
And I totally agree, because it seemed like the grounds, even the animals supported us being there. You see the deer and stuff would like come out of the woods, and like ducks and all sorts of stuff,
Yeah. And they're just like, hey, walk right past
back,
you. You're like, you're thinking deer season, Detroit. Oh no, Michigan. So what have you been now? Obviously you're not touring because of things have changed a lot. Are you still doing a lot of work though when we were in a normal situation? Are you still doing a lot of traveling?
No, actually, I had taken a job at a Unity Center in Jacksonville. So I did that for about a year and a half, and long enough to decide that's not what I wanted to do. And but I became really interested in 2 things. I became interested in the stock market a couple of years ago, and I said, well, you're a smart guy, you'll figure it out, And then I became interested in broadcasting, how to broadcast from your home and how to do podcasts and all that kind of stuff, And look, who knew? Who knew that a few months later, that would be the norm, that would be the standard of communication was the stuff that I was so interested in 6 months ago. You
Right.
know? So in that respect, I have to look at I point at my personal relationship with God for everything in my life, every single thing, you know. And when I pay attention, I notice all of the miracles. There's so many miracles that are happening, you know. It just depends on where I focus my attention.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, when you pay attention, many times I think people don't pay attention
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they miss so much of the wonder that has been bestowed upon them with the universe. I mean, we miss all the gifts when we're just on autopilot.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I found is it's in this time I've turned to the things that interest me. You know, like I love computers and I love science and I love all of these little things that you're too busy running around and traveling and you know I have an old bug, a beetle, you
Mhm.
know, like a
Yeah,
little red bug, man. I haven't put gas in that thing in 3 weeks.
I know. Yeah, yeah, I love it. They say you don't get miles per gallon, you get how many something per month. You get miles per month or gallons per month because you're just like you're not using it.
Right, you know. But this time for me has you know, there's you know, I'm not around. I'm not with my beloved. You know, we work in different areas, and just for safety reasons, you know, we have to keep a distance. That's I think the hardest part of this whole thing for me. You know,
Right.
and if I don't watch the news, then I don't have to be sad all the time.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, I get it. I can watch it for 5 minutes, and I'll get the whole story that's going to be repeated ad nauseum.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so I check in so that I know what to pray for.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that we limit our exposure to that. You know, I know some people that are glued to it, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't imagine that it's so depressing. It's just, and everybody's just giving their opinion. It's like there's no, there's no consistency with the story. So I just watch the statistics. I listen to where we are in terms of what phase we're in, like in California, what phase and stage we're in. And I'm like, okay, let's do something else. So what songs are moving you right now? What if I were to say if you were to go into a center right now, what would you want to play that would, speak to your heart that you would want to share with other people? Is there a song that you could choose and share with us?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it came up for me when you mentioned the Silomar. One year I was actually the musical director there at Silomar, and I was asked to write a song, and the theme was making all things new. And a lot of people are concerned about what's going to happen next, you know, and I'm looking at it from the point of view of what happens next. We don't have to wait for it. We can decide what happens next,
Yep.
and how we move forward, and the way that we move forward. If we do it from that loving place, you know, we will change the dynamic. I'm sure we will. You know, but
I'm
I'm
sure
going to
we
do
are, yeah. But play it for me, man. Let me hear it.
okay. Just as the sun gives its nourishing light to bring forth the flowers to summer's delight, as time and forgiveness heals all wounds, it's true. So to begin again, making all things new. As summer gives way to the colors of fall, and autumn surrenders to winter's call, as the earth she embraces the seed of the fruit and knows just what to do, making all things new. for me and for you, making all things new. As our loved ones pass on and are laid to rest, in our hearts they'll remain and live on as we bless the woman with child soon this world born into. Oh, great things they may do as the promise comes true. For me and for you, making all things new. Making all things new. Making all things new. For me and for you, making all things new. Making all things new. Making all things new. For me and for you, making all things new.
Another great one, Eddie Watkins. Man, I love your songs. I love your songs. I have to tell you a quick story. So I traded my mother's car in. I got my mom a new car. And before I left her, we dropped it off, I was going through her, emptying out her CDs in her car stereo there. And you popped out. In fact, you were the only CD in there. It was a 6 CD changer, and that you were the only CD in there. And I said, Mom, did you know that you had the CD in there? She says, of course I knew. I listened to him all the time. So I don't know how you made superstar status, but you did, because you were the only CD in her changer. And, just had to share that story with you, because I thought.
Oh man, y'all go out. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
That's priceless, man. I love it.
It was pretty cool. I went, Mom, did you know that? Yeah, of course I knew that was in there. I listened to it all the time. Okay, Mom, that's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah.
So what's next for Eddie after this whole, as we phase back into our experience, our new experience, whatever the new normal is going to be, what seeds are you planting for your future? What are you looking forward to?
Well, this broadcasting and being able to do this isn't going away. I can see that. So I'm going to keep pursuing this, and my beloved Marianne, she's a speaker as well. So we're thinking about putting together something for our own YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel now, Marianne Eddie on YouTube. So we're pursuing that. Also, I recently did a workshop online, the I Sing My Prayers workshop, for the first time with Reverend Allen in New Hampshire, in Rhode Island. It went really, really well. So that's another thing that can be offered, is the virtual workshops of I Sing My Prayers. So there's just so many opportunities that are opening up now. I mean, it's a wonderful time, to prepare for what's coming next.
Yeah, we the one thing for sure, I have to say I was resisting this whole technology and online this and online that, and I tell you what, the resistance you had to surrender to the whole idea of everything changing, and I'm really glad that we did right from the get-go. We started doing things. I think we were one of the first churches that canceled their Sunday service, because my population was a little bit more at risk than maybe some others.
Yeah.
So we canceled before we were required to cancel. And then, so I realized, okay, we've got to start coming up with stuff. And then it was just like, let's see what we can do. And so everyone walked around doing jazz heads, because at 10 o'clock in the morning, there would be something to do at CSL Palm Desert. And it's required us to jump into this technology. Yesterday, our ministerial students did a workshop on vision boards, and the week before was visioning, and next week I think we've got Karen Drucker teaching a workshop on how to create a chant
Mm-hmm.
with our students. So we're always doing instructional stuff, and we're doing conversations and concerts. So yeah, I think that's the way of the future. I think people are now, there's going to be an expectation that the content will be available to them. Maybe not the doesn't have to be at the 10 o'clock hour, because once people get back into their world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this has been a time for people to awaken, and what you and Marianne are doing is probably going to be really will be really important in the overall scheme of things.
Yes.
Is how we change it. So we got a couple more minutes left. What song would you like to end on today?
Oh my goodness.
What would be your closing message for our community here in Palm Desert, in the sandbox?
It would be a message for for the world right now.
Bring it on, man.
A lot of people have been cooped up together for a long time. Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath, then let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we die for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? What would love do now? What would love do now? What would love do now?
Eddie Watkins Jr., man, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And big shout out to Trey, too.
Oh yeah, he's here.
And
Yeah,
Jerry Lynn, too. You know,
I will
I love
definitely.
that.
Yeah, no, Trey's celebrating the big day today. Today is he completes his 30 years with Alaska Airlines as a pilot.
Wow.
So and he's not working. It's funny, but he's he completes 30 years today.
Oh, beautiful.
We're celebrating today in our own way. We're celebrating lockdown, but he has a moment there. He's eligible to retire starting tomorrow.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I announced my retirement. We brought a new minister in. You remember Charles Hall?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I saw Charles in the airport. Marianne and I were on our way from Denver, and we actually ended up in the line next to Charles.
Yeah, so he's stepping in. He's a associate minister. He'll be stepping into my position um, whenever we finally make the transition. But
What a
yeah, so
talent.
no, I'm going to be retiring. In fact, we're probably looking at a place in Florida. We're looking at moving to Florida for part of the time. So
Right?
we'll
Excellent.
be, we'll be sharing at least the same state at some point. But no, so we got a lot of changes going on here, and I'm glad you were part of our experience today. I thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll be in touch because that first song and last song may be the songs I want you to sing for us one day on a Sunday service coming up.
Okay.
All right. Bring me
got
in, walk me out. All right, man. Hey, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And just to let you a couple reminders, tomorrow, Michael Bogart will be with Reverend Charles. They'll be doing their conversation at 10 o'clock. We got our meditation at 10 o'clock on Saturday. Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, we have our services, of course, online. So let's see, one more thing today. I think Reverend Laura at 2 o'clock has her, the success, I keep remembering, 10 Secrets of Success and Inner Peace is at 2 o'clock today. Once again, we are really counting on your love offerings to continue to sustain our operation during this time. As you know, we've made a commitment to do whatever we can to help support our employees, so we're doing that, but we need your help as well. And like I was just part of something I want to convey to everyone is when everyone is going to be expecting our center to be what it was before all of this happened. And in order to do that, we need you to be who you were before this happened, which means to continue to support us financially. So there is a donate button. Please don't take the time to donate, especially if you're enjoying these things that we're doing every day at 10 o'clock. Please continue to support us. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And Eddie Watkins Jr., thank you, man. My best to Marianne. You got blessings to you both. All right. Have a great day.
I do well.
Thanks, man.